good evening, and a pleasant welcome to King's News Broom. King's News Broom is a 45 minutes of news from Liberia, Africa, and the world at large. Today is Tuesday, February 10th. The year remains 2026. I am Marvin Vi anchoring this presentation. First, we look at story tapping the headlines. Coalition for Democratic Change expelled 2023 chairperson and two lawmakers for what the party described as disloyalty and regime collaboration against Section 38 of its constitution. General Auditing Commission launches its strategies plan for 2026 to 2030, outlining its ambition roadmap aimed at strengthening public sector's accountability, providing quality and mobilizing auditing in the country. Chairperson of the Solidarity and Trust for New Day stand, Molba Molo, issued a strong public warning to President Joseph Boakai, accusing the administration of implementing evasion measures that he says disappropriately affect poor and vulnerable community. Away from home, Kenya says it will take to Russia over growing report that its citizens are being recruited to fight in the war in Ukraine. Detail with the news bulletin, along with voices of the news, make out all package for today's presentation. We'll take a very short break to be right back to bring you the news bulletin. Welcome. We now join Sam Andrews for the news bulletin.
The Auditing Commission has launched a strategic plan for 2026-2030, outlining ambitious roadmap aimed at strengthening public sector accountability and improving quality and modernizing auditing in Liberia. Speaking at a local hotel, the General Auditing Commission head Gatsua Jackson acknowledged that while GSC has made significant progress over the past 5 years, the institution continues to grapple with resource constraints, operational weaknesses, and capacity gaps that have limited its effectiveness. According to Mr. Jackson, the new strategic 5-year strategic plan is designed to respond to a rapidly increasing public financial management environment characterized by emerging fiscal risks, increasing public scrutiny, and the role of technology in governance. He added the strategic plan emphasizes quality audit delivery, operational excellence, digital transformation, and financial independence. The chairperson of the civil society organization Solidarity and Trust for a New Day, Molba Molu, has issued a warning to President Joseph Boakai, accusing the government of implementing eviction measures that he said disproportionately affect poor and vulnerable communities. In a statement on social media Tuesday, Molba Molu criticized what he described as the government's failure to protect poor people who are residents facing eviction. He warned that if the evictions continue, STAN would mobilize the affected individuals to protest at the president's residence. He said the enforcement of eviction should not selectively target the poor people houses while excluding rich people, especially politicians' property. The chairperson of the civil society group comments come days after several residents, including Sinker 4th Street and 70 Sinker, were made homeless by the government. The head of persons living with disability in Batala County has expressed frustration over what he described as continued neglect under the Bwakai administration. Amos Tukwa, a resident of Batala, said persons with disabilities in the county have not benefited from the government, a situation he described as disappointing and unfair. Mr. Tukwa pointed out lack of inclusion and access as some of the major challenges faced by persons living with disabilities in Liberia. He alleged nepotism within the disability community in Bon County, saying it has led to marginalization by the county leadership. The Circuit Judge of Grand Bassa County, Joe Bacon, has reported that a total of 112 cases comprising both criminal and civil matters are currently on the docket for the February term of court. Speaking at the opening of the February term, Judge Bacon disclosed that 8 motions were heard and disposed of, while rulings were reserved for 4 additional motions. Meanwhile, the resident circuit judge also lauded the superintendent of Grand Bassa for his administration contribution towards strengthening the county's judicial system. Judge Bacon made the remarks during the opening of the February term of court, where he highlighted the donation of an 18-seater box to the judiciary and the ongoing construction of a new courthouse in Edina City. The House of Representatives has voted to invite the Minister of Mines and Energy, along with the management of Horen Mining Company, to appear before the Committee on Mines and Energy on next Tuesday. The committee took the decision following concerns over the company's bad operations in Bon County. It follows a communication from Representative Marvin Cole, who urged the plenary to invite the Minister of Mines and Energy and the management of Huron Mining Company to appear for what he described as gross environmental violations and failure to comply with statutory obligations governing mining activities in Liberia. The Bon County lawmaker, in his communication, accused the mining company of engaging in practices that allegedly degrades the environment and disregard community welfare. Former Liberian President George Weah has renewed calls for national unity as a means of preserving peace and promoting national development. According to the former president, the time is now for citizens, including political actors, to come together and put the country's interests above personal and partisan considerations. Former President George Weah noted that political divisions have brought no meaningful benefit to Liberia, but instead contributed to a painful and turbulent past marked by loss of lives and the destruction of critical infrastructure. The former Liberian president emphasized that years of civil unrest forced many Liberians to flee the country in search of refuge, resulting in loss of dignity and stability. The Congress for Democratic Change political leader further stated that throughout his career, he has consistently championed the cause of sustaining peace, a commitment he said reflected in his role as former United Nations Peace Ambassador. Former President George Weah also urged political leaders and Liberians to prioritize Liberia's interest above personal. The High Command of the Armed Forces of Liberia has raised concern about the 2026 national budget. According to the command, the national legislature did not allot any money in the budget for recruitment of personnel of the armed forces of Liberia. The Liberian government has broken ground for the construction of a US $30.2 million 10th Judicial Circuit Court complex in Vonjaman, Lofa County. Speaking, their Vice President Jeremiah Kun described the role of law as foundation for democracy, noting that democratic governance cannot survive where the rule of law is weak or undermined. He stressed the government's responsibility in accelerating the construction of judicial infrastructure nationwide, noting that strong and independent courts are essential to sustaining peace, justice, and democracy. And the Coalition for Democratic Change 2023 campaign spokesperson has dismissed media reports that he resigned from the party. The family of Richard Cotto, a 26-year-old woman who was allegedly murdered by her boyfriend in Soclinic community, has announced a US $1,500 bounty for anyone knowing the whereabouts of the accused boy. Edward Moluba, also known as Bombo Ram, was accused of killing Rachel, his fiancée and mother of his 2 children, on January 26 in Soclinic community. The family also wants the Liberia National Police intensify efforts to ensure justice is served. Speaking to reporters, uncle of the deceased, George Flomo, noted that they will not rest until justice is served in the mysterious death of their daughter.
Sam Anju, and the news bulletin is a reminder that you are tuned to King's News Broom, a 45 minutes of news for Liberia, Africa, and the world at large. Story we are following tonight: Coalition for Democratic Change, CDC, expelled 2023 campaign spokesperson and 2 lawmakers for what the party described as disloyalty and regime collaborators against Section 38 of the Constitution. General Auditing Commission launches its strategies planned for 2026 to 2030, outlining its ambitious roadmap aimed at strengthening public sectors. Chairperson of Solidarity and Trust for New Day Stand, Moluba Molu, issued a strong public warning to President Joseph Boakai, accusing the administration of implementing evasion measures that he says disappropriately affected poor and vulnerable community, a way for whom Kenya says it will take that's talked to Russia over growing report that its citizens are being recruited to fight in the war in Ukraine. We take a very short break to be right back and bring you voices of the news maker. Welcome back to this first development. Resident Sacred George of Grant, Bassett County, George Bacon has reported that a total of 112 cases comprising both criminal and civil matters are currently on the docket for the February turn of court AD 2026. Speaking during the opening of the February turn of court, George Bacon disclosed that 8 motions were heard and dispersed of, while ruling were reserved on 4 additional motions. He further noted that legal issues were settled in 7 civil cases and that 4 bills of information were also held and concluded during the period of honor review. The judge added that the probate version of the court handled several matters, including petition for letters of administration, requests for the court decree of sale and conveyance of land, as well as the probation of leasing agreement and title deeds.
Of the bar and our distinguished guests, as the mandate of the Chief Justice, His Honor, Yemi Senior, we preside over the reform team of 2025, wherein there were 115 cases of both criminal and civil on the post docket, all of which there were 10 criminal cases and 105 civil cases. 2 criminal cases were disposed of for the post docket on the merit. Another criminal case which was not docketed after being transferred was also disposed of. But not a prosecutor, while 1 civil case involving action and judgment, the jury trial will also dispose of. The total number of cases available for the February term of court is 112, comprising both criminal and civil. About 8 motions were had and disposed of, and rulings reversed on 4 other motions. Additionally, no issue was also disposed of in 7 other civil cases, and 4 bill information were also disposed of. The appropriate division of the Social Circle disposed of several matters, one of which involved the petition for the administration, petition for political sale, conveyance of land, and other probation, and provision of lease agreement, etc.
In a related development, the resident Sacred Court Judge Joe Bacon has lauded the superintendent of Grant, Bassett County for his administration contribution towards strengthening the county judiciary system. Judge Bacon made the remarks during the opening of the February terms of court, where he highlighted the donation of an 18-seater bus to the judiciary and the ongoing construction of a new courthouse in Idanan.
We are pleased to report to you that the county authorities of Bassett County, on the administration of the able superintendent of Okayi Johnson, has donated a 18-seater bus to the South Judicial Circle, and the bus was presented publicly on the grounds of the administrative building in Buchanan on Tuesday, November 11, 2025. The bus was subsequently turned over to the Director of Transport and the Temple of Justice for proper coding, and it is currently in use, transporting court staff to and fro work as well as jurors. We are highly gratified for such a milestone and valuable donation to the Seventh Judicial Circuit of Gambasa County on the part of the county authorities in collaboration with the Gambasa County Legislative Caucus. And we say bravo to our county authorities and the caucus, as this has been my advocacy and dream since my senator to this position, because co-staff and jurors were incurring too much cost of transportation from their salaries and or income to go to and fro work on a daily basis.
To this development, the head of person living with disability in Gaptala, Broom County, has expressed frustration over what he describes as continued neglect on the Buakad administration. Speaking to reporter Amos Tukbe, a resident of Gaptala, said persons with disability in the area have not benefited from the national government, a situation he describes as disappointing and unfair. Tukbe pointed out to a lack of inclusion and access as some of the major challenges faced by persons living with disability within the county.
Somebody rightly put it, disability is not inability. So for people living with disability, nobody was born with it.
Okay.
Where it is true, some people were born with it. Anybody can become disabled within the movement. Okay. And it's not something that anybody hoping for or praying for. But from the time we started, we are rating whole lot of entity, NGO, government officials, senator, representative. Nobody has ever come to our aid. So we are actually appealing to the people. If you can see us discussing, but besides that, nobody has ever done it for a okay. Then not paying attention to us, but we stay encourage our people. We talk to them that we should remain patient time. And we are waiting a whole lot of communication to him that we actually want an existence. Okay. Because it is true, where it is true, we all are disabled. But there are some people, they are disability in golden. Some of us who can at least move. When you look at some of the people, you feel very, very bad about them. So actually, to aim line so that we can really be able to help us.
Former Liberian President George Weah has renewed calls for national unity as a means of preserving peace and promoting national development. According to the former president, time is now for citizens, including political actors, to come together and place the country interests above personal and partisan consideration. He noted that political division have brought no meaningful benefit to the nation, but instead contribute to a peaceful and turbulent past marked by loss of lives and the destruction of critical infrastructure. The former president emphasized that years of civil unrest forced many Liberians to flee to country in search of refuge, resulting in the loss of dignity and stability of many citizens.
We are all one family. I got aunties from Lofa County. I got uncles from Grand Gile. I got sisters from Maryland, Southtown, Grand Basso. My family big. And I show all of you, you can see that we are one family in a small country. So we got to treat each other good. Remember when we decided that the politics would divide us? Who can tell me what happened? What happened? War, right? War. And when we went to a refugee camp, and everybody that tested that camp, do we want to go back there? No. Because the camp will take away your dignity, your respect, your love for people. So let us be one family. I'll tell you something funny happened the other day. A little girl tested me. Oh, my school fee not paid. I said, okay. What can I do? Oh, our daddy, you know, the school fee. I said, okay, what can I do? I said, okay, send me all your CDC, send me all your CDC hat and t-shirt. It took 3 days to send it to me. She can send it. Then I took a picture and sent it to a friend. I said, the person that your friend, check. Who are they? I saw a picture. She all a unity partisan in the street. So I sent it to her. I said, are you there? She said, oh daddy, yeah, you know that time where, but please forgive me for God's sake. So we'll do a lot of things for God's sake. Whether you're a unity partisan or you're sedition. That's why in our government, we all work together. I said something on the Facebook. One official of government, I sent a message to him. I said, you don't need to speak like that. Because when you are in opposition, remember you're asking for food, you're asking for food, you're asking for everything. So when the children are calling you, do the same.
The higher command of the Armed Forces of Liberia has raised serious concern about the 2026 national budget. According to the command, the national legislature did not allow any money in the national budget for recruitment of personnel of the Armed Forces of Liberia for this year. AFL Chief of Staff Major General Davison Foley, however, appealed to the members of the national legislature to take collective measure to enable the Ministry of National Defense achieving its 5-year strategies plan to recruiting 600 AFL personnel every year.
Today, our population is 5.something million, and we run a brigade size with other units in the military. That's a disconnect. It does not add up. It was against that background that Mr. President said there's a need for recruitment, vigorous recruitment. When Mr. President had this intent, so to me as Chief of Staff, it's a tax to me. And when I'm taxed through the Minister of National Defense from Mr. President, I come up with my mission statement. And my mission statement was clear, that we will recruit 600 every year. So my policy people put these beautiful documents together. It may interest you to know there has been no improvement for recruitment in this year's budget. It is sad to say that. But graciously, I work for the Commander-in-Chief. And he tells me that, yeah, there will be recruitment. So I know that some way, somehow, there will be some money somewhere. Please. Interestingly, we will not benefit from these monies if there is no recruitment.
The government of Liberia has broken grounds for the construction of a US $3.2 million 10th Judiciary Circuit Court complex in Vonchima, Lofa County. Speaking during the ceremony, Vice President Jeremiah Cohn described the rule of law as foundation of democracy, noting that democratic governance cannot survive where the rule of law is weak or undermined. He stressed that government responsibility in accelerating the construction of judiciary infrastructure nationwide, noting that strong and independent courts are essential to sustainable peace, justice, and democratic sustainability.
That is to tell you that could be a lot of happening in a lot of countries. And that is why, as a government, we must speed up with this project across all 15 counties. And I think the Deputy Speaker sitting here and the second person in the legislature, you appropriate money. And here we're talking about $3 million to a complex, $3.2 million. People can do 3 or 4 in the area. It breaks down. There is no democracy. We have a president. We wasn't saying this country when rule of law broke down here in the 90s. Up to 2006 before the rule of law returned. And in this Lofa County where we stand today, the people here are not happy here. And so that's why we cannot go back to those days. And for us to not go back to those days, we must make sure that those things that support democracy, we must get them done.
Also speaking, Chief Justice of Liberia, Yami Wisi, this underscores the importance of judiciary independence, stressing that true independence of the judiciary cannot be achieved without adequate infrastructure. According to him, the judiciary cannot function independently while operating from rented and privately owned facility.
The judiciary has to be independent. But right now, for instance, in Kema, the local government are giving notice to the second court. They are not saying move it, so we're going to run away our place. So they can say they're going to do it. We can't say the judiciary is independent when we are stepping in somebody's house. Our law says the only person that we cannot dare to put is the president. The law is just having the vice president to ensure that the court has authority over any all persons. And to do that independently, we need our own place. That is the reason why we got a strategic plan that calls for building a modern judiciary complex throughout the country every year. We have one already erected in Lima County where it's complete. The graduate quarter, the resident quarter, all the codes are there. So when you move to Lima, now you have to be down. You go there, it's airport.
He is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. If you are just joining us, it's a reminder that you are listening to a 45 minutes of news from Liberia, Africa, and the world at large. Story we are following tonight. Coalition for Democratic Change has spelled 2023 its campaign spokesperson and two lawmakers for what the party described as disloyalty and regime collaboration against Section 38 of its constitution. In a statement released late Monday evening, the opposition CDC noted we take another short break to be right back and bringing more development on this program, King's Newsroom. Welcome back to this development. The Ministry of National Defense, in collaboration with the United Nations Women, has officially launched the Else Initiative Fund project aimed at increasing the enlistment of women to meet the 15% in the armed forces of Liberia. Speaking at the launch ceremony, National Defense Minister Gordon George disclosed that the project value $663,700 United States dollars will last for 2 years. Minister George added that the project could provide a timely and strategic opportunity to remove barriers that women normally encounter when they decide to join the armed forces of Liberia.
Women still remain underrepresented in operational, leadership, and deployment roles in the armed forces of Liberia. Women currently constitute a low representation of little over 7% of our force. This is not a reflection of women's capability or commitment, but rather structural and institutional barriers related to deployment, eligibility, and infrastructure gaps. Social inclusion that are identified in the September 2022 Armed Forces of Liberia report on result of the measuring opportunities for women in peacekeeping operations assessment. In an international effort to address these barriers, on November 11, 2025, the Ministry of National Defense and the UN Women signed the SA Initiative Fund project. This project has a total budget of $663,791 United States dollars.
Delivering the keynote speech at the program, the representative of District 6 in Bond County, Mema Briggs Mensah, encouraged young women to take advantage of this initiative by joining the AFL. Representative Mensah said the initiative will create the span broad for women to increase the contribute to the maintenance of security and peace in the country.
As legislators, as government officials, as partners in civil society, and as developmental ally, we must commit to supporting these reforms, not just in words, but in actions. We must ensure that policies are enforced, budgets are prioritized, and progress is continuously monitored. Sustainability change does not happen by accident. It requires persistent accountability and shared commitment. The reading of the armed forces of Liberia into the youth girls across our nation who dreams of one day wearing the uniform. Your service matters, your leadership is valued, and your dreams are legitimate.
Also speaking, United Nations Resident Coordinator Christian Otunai disclosed that Liberia's selection for the project is intended to increase country's role on international peacekeeping, especially involving women.
Liberia being at the Security Council, it's not a matter of chance or accident. You earned it. For a country that had over 14 years of war, Ebola, COVID, and all these problems, and the fact that we've seen peace for the last over 20 years, we don't take it for granted. It's an example to emulate. The fact that we don't see guns on the streets, you've silenced the guns, and you've sustained the peace for that long. And you know that even within our region in Africa, there are countries where until today, every day has not stopped. Insecurity is all over the place. So the world sees and recognizes this, and the place at the international stage brings more responsibility to keep doing what you do, but also to shine a light to those who want to emulate the same, and for all of us to continue working towards peace.
The family of Rachel Cotto, a 26-year-old woman who was allegedly murdered by her boyfriend in the Soclene community, has announced a US $1,500 bonus for anyone knowing the whereabouts of the accused boyfriend. Edwin Moribai, also known as Bobby Ron, was accused of killing Rachel, his fiancée, and mother of his two children on January 26, 2026 in the Soclene community. The family also want the Liberia National Police to intensify efforts to ensure justice is served. Speaking to reporter, uncle of the deceased, George Fulmo, noted that they will not rest until justice is served in the mysterious death of their daughter.
George Harold Flomo, an uncle to the deceased. The girl was brutally murdered by Edwin Molba, aka Humble Rum. This incident occurred at Soclene Bipele Junction on the 26th of January 2026. We woke up to this tragedy that had befallen the Rachel family when her boyfriend killed her in cold blood. We were called to the scene. When we came, the gentleman, Edwin Morva, CKA Bomberon, had already done the work, and the guy was lying down there in cold blood as you are seeing the body. He called from out, trying to find out whether his girlfriend is in. When the little girl, who is the deceased, answered that yes, your girlfriend is here, he just walked out, went in there, locked the door. The musical set they have at the house carried it to a very high volume so that the neighbors could not hear them.
George Flomo ending our national story. For our foreign news, Kenya says it will talk to Russia over growing report that its citizens are being recruited to fight in the war in Ukraine. Speaking to BBC, Foreign Minister Masile Maduva called the practice unacceptable and said Nairobi had shut down illegal recruitment and could urge Moscow to sign a deal banning the conceptions of Kenya's soldier. The Kenyan government estimates that around 200 of its nationals have been recruited to fight for Russia. Well, on that note, this is how we like to go on the program King's Newsroom. Before we leave, these are stories we've been following. Coalition for Democratic Change expelled 2023 campaign spokesperson and two lawmakers for what the party described as disloyalty and regime collaborator against Section 38 of its constitution. The General Auditing Commission launches its strategy plan for 2026 to 2030, outlining its ambitious roadmap aimed at strengthening public sector's accountability, improving quality. Chairperson of Solidarity and Trust for New Day Stand, Modba Molu, issued a strong public warning to President Joseph Boakai, accusing the administration of implementing evasion measures that he said disappropriately affect poor and vulnerable community. Away from home, Kenya says it will talk to Russia over a growing report that its citizens are being recruited to fight in the war in Ukraine. Many thanks to our news contributor, reporter, and editor who contributed towards this program, King's Newsroom. Sam Anju sat in control and brought you the news bulletin. For more news and information on King's Newsroom, kindly join us tomorrow at 6 o'clock a.m. for another 45 minutes of news. I am Marvin Vai. Good evening from Monrovia.